What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate support. Guys, we covered a story that broke Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday, I think it was in the morning, about a Winston-Salem High School out there, North Forsyth High School. Shout out North Forsyth, where there was a deadly stabbing in which a 16-year-old boy, pictured up here, lost his life after being fatally stabbed by another student. Now, they had a press conference today and it cleared up a lot, and it was like a lot of bombs that was dropped. And this whole thing was something that we didn't even see. They just had a press conference, like I said, and I'm going to show you the press conference. I don't want to spoil this, but I will tell you this. The sheriff out there, the black guy you'll see speak at the press conference, he said some real shit. And it went along with a lot of what I tell you guys. And I want you guys to take a look at this and tell me what you think in the comments.
Leaders are giving an update on the deadly stabbing at North Forsyth High School earlier this week.
A fight between two students led to the stabbing. One student was killed, the other was injured and has since been released from the hospital.
There are still so many unanswered questions that we hope to get answered right now. We are going to take you live to that news conference, which is getting underway with several key officials.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'm Krista Karcher, the Public Relations Manager for the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. We have a few people speaking today in regards to the incident that occurred on Tuesday at North Forsyth High School. Lieutenant Sloan of the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, District Attorney Jim O'Neill, Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough Jr., Superintendent Phipps of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School District, and Chief William Penn of the Winston-Salem Police Department will all be speaking today. Please allow each one of them to speak, and we'll give you time to ask questions after everyone is finished. So first, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Sloan of the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office.
Hello, my name is Lieutenant J.D. Sloan with Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. I work in the Criminal Investigations Division. On Tuesday, December 9th, the Forsyth County School Resource Officer assigned to North Forsyth High School responded to a stabbing at that location. First responders immediately attempted life-saving measures on one of the students involved. However, that student succumbed to his injuries on scene. A second student involved in the incident was transported to the hospital where he received treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. The Sheriff's Office is conducting a thorough and ongoing investigation. Our detectives have interviewed dozens of witnesses and reviewed both school surveillance footage, cell phone video obtained, and at this stage in the investigation, we've determined that a physical altercation between two students occurred inside a school bathroom over a THC vape pen. During the altercation, a knife was produced by the decedent, resulting in the other subject sustaining injuries to his hands and the decedent suffering a fatal stab wound to his chest. Upon completion of our preliminary investigation, we contacted the Forsyth County District Attorney's Office and spoke with Jim O'Neill. We presented our initial findings to him, and at this point I'd like to turn the briefing over to District Attorney Jim O'Neill for follow-up.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim O'Neill. I'm the Forsyth County District Attorney. We have all in this community experienced what can only be described as a senseless tragedy. A young man went to school this week and he didn't come home to see his family. And especially at this time of year, when so many of us are thinking about what kind of Christmas gifts we're going to get the people that we love, this young man and his family are suffering unimaginable sorrow and pain. What you heard from Detective Sloan from the Sheriff's Department was a summary of what the evidence has been and what they've been able to collect. I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff's Department has worked night and day on this case since it occurred with the assistance of the Winston-Salem Police Department. The combined efforts of your two agencies here is remarkable. And I said the other day, when tragedy strikes your community like it has done to ours this week, and we have professional, highly trained law enforcement agencies that are going to work hard and get to the truth of the matter, that's all we can ask for. So we're fortunate. So I'd like to thank just a moment Chief Penn, Sheriff Kimbrough. Your team was outstanding here. So I will tell you that having coached young men in this community for more than 25 years at the high school level, young men get involved in some stupid things and they make some bad decisions. We have no enemy to punish here. We have no friend to reward in terms of this investigation and the decisions to be made in the case. Our only obligation to the family of the decedent and to this community is to pursue the truth and pursue justice on behalf of the young man's family. What we had here in this case, by every piece of evidence that was collected and presented, by every witness that was spoken to. And remember something, folks, we know the video is out there. That tells a snippet of what happened in this case. The interviews tell more information. And you learn during the course of this investigation that these two young men knew each other very well, rode the school bus together, had a conversation that morning, talking to each other. They were friends, which makes this even more of a tragedy. The individual that survived this altercation suffered what we would describe as defensive type wounds on the inside of his hands in an effort to wrestle the knife away from the 16-year-old. If you remember what Detective Sloan told you, the 16-year-old is the one that produced the knife. The 18-year-old tried to wrestle it away from him and had to be treated at the hospital for slice wounds to his hands. During the course of that altercation, both hands are on the knife. The knife comes up and punctures our 16-year-old one time through the sternum and through the heart. I tell you that the video only represents a snippet of what occurred because many people in this community don't understand that the 18-year-old, upon seeing that his friend was stabbed and laying on the ground, tried to render aid, tried to pack the wound and keep pressure on it. The 18-year-old was interviewed by law enforcement while he was recovering from his own injuries. And I can tell you, he cried and cried when he learned that his friend was dead. This was not an intentional act on behalf of the 18-year-old. It was not. there's not a shred of evidence to suggest that this was anything more than an accident. And what does the law tell us about accident? Well, I can tell you that the North Carolina Supreme Court has found over and over again that the defense of accident is triggered in factual situations where a defendant, without premeditation, intent, or culpable negligence, commits acts which bring about the death of another. Our 18-year-old, also, of course, under the law, had the right to use self-defense. And the law, again, tells us over and over again, you have the right to defend yourself. And when this knife was produced, he tried to wrestle it away from the 16-year-old. Now, what has come to light during the course of this investigation and been shared with me is that our 18-year-old has now been subjected to threats against himself and his family, which, based upon this investigation and the truth, is totally inappropriate. What happened at North Forsyth this week was an accident. It was unintentional. And I promise you now, we will not tolerate any acts of retaliation or revenge. Police department stands with us. The sheriff stands with us. It will not be accepted. You take that step and threaten this young man or his family, you need to be prepared for the consequences. And they will be harsh. We have said for years that we will protect our school, we will protect our students. And in this particular case, this 18-year-old, whose name I don't even want to throw out there because of what he's been subjected to this week, after the loss of his friend. No revenge and no retaliation. There is no probable cause in this case, no probable cause whatsoever to charge the 18-year-old with any sort of assault or homicide or even a manslaughter. At the end of the day, this is a terrible, terrible accident. And unfortunately, like so many of our murders and loss of life in this community, it can only be described in one word: senseless.
First of all, I want to say good afternoon. I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank the police department, district attorney's office, fire department, EMS, emergency management, highway patrol. I want to thank all of you asking me, am I all right? The answer is hell no, I'm not all right. And you shouldn't be all right. You shouldn't. You should be sad, the loss of life that has taken place. You know, I prepared what I called a politically correct statement. And I tossed and turned all last night. I don't want to be politically correct on this. I want to be correct. A lot of people I see on Facebook, they ask the question, who, what, when, where. There's a lot of blame to go around here. It's a lot. And I guess that I have to be the bearer of truth. And this is not a finger-pointing exercise. This is just facts. And the only way we can fix some things is we address the facts. And the facts are simply this. There's some things we need to fix. The question was, a metal detectors, are they working? Were they working? The answer was no, they weren't using them that day. And some of our probably is saying, well, why weren't they? Well, did we forget that we want administrators to be administrators? We want them to teach. We want them to be security experts. But did we forget the shortage that we created when we sent so many people home? Did we forget the number of personnel in the school system, that you don't have people in the school to take on those tasks? Regardless of how we got there, all those things are contributing factors. They are. It would be like you having 4 tires on your car and one of the tires is flat. It would affect the ride of the car. These are facts. The decisions that we make as adults create conditions for our children. These are facts. And at some point, we as adults, all of us, share the blame in this. We do. I can't tell you that you have the responsibility of raising somebody else's kids. You probably don't. But as a community, if you want a thriving community, a progressive community, it starts with a safe community. And even though it may not be your responsibility, we all have a role to play in this community. If it's nothing but volunteering at those schools, being a hall monitor, being a bathroom monitor, you can't expect success if you ain't willing to put the work in it. Success has an invoice attached to it. And somebody got to pay the invoice. And death has a voice. Let me tell you about that voice. On Tuesday, when I arrived, I saw a young man struggling for his life. I saw a young man crying and wailing at what he had done. I saw staff and administrators crying. I saw students crying. And what I would tell you is that, and I was looking at you all because I can't thank you and the school system for your support, and even Chick-fil-A for providing the meals. But we have perfected responding to critical incidents like this. I can take you all the way back to 21 at Mount Tabor, take you to Reynolds, I can take you to a few other schools. This ain't something I want to perfect. Never did I ever want to perfect this. But let me tell you what I witnessed on Tuesday. Let me tell you about my Tuesday. Let me tell you why I'm not all right and why you shouldn't be all right. Because when we had to notify the grandmother, Miss Porch, when she came there, she sat there and I talked with her. I saw the emotions, I saw the reaction, I saw her fall on the floor and cry. I saw her daughter fall on the floor and cry. Myself and Chief Penn walked out of the room with tears in our eyes. But here's what I saw that I'll never forget. When we came back in the room to check on her, she looked up at me and she said, Kimbrough, how is the little boy doing? How is his family doing? I said, he sustained some wounds, but he's gonna be all right, but mentally he'll never forget it. She said, Kimbrough, can we just pray for him and his family? At her lowest moment, she wanted to pray for him. That's the love that's missing from this community. We've got to do better. We got to talk to our kids and tell them this ain't World Star with 11 or 12 people go in the bathroom and watch and wait and video to someone's death. It may not be a criminal offense, but to me it's a moral offense. And we as a community, we're better than this. And it's not a finger-pointing exercise, but you want answers, I'm gonna give you the answers. Now what you do with them is on you. We're playing games with our children. Every decision that we make as an adults affect young children. Those are facts, undisputable facts. You've heard me say it before, you can't make potato salad without potatoes. It could be something else, but it damn sure ain't potato salad. If you want success, we got to get serious about putting people in place and putting what is needed. We've got to protect our schools every day. And I don't care what it takes. I don't care if they don't get 6 hours of instructional. I don't care about that. I'd rather them get 4 hours of instruction and they all go home safe. And I can promise you their parents would rather have that too. I promise you that. I got back to my office and I was sitting in there having a debriefing with my team, and they'll tell you, the phone rang. I was getting so many calls that I answered anybody that called. I was just answering, saying hello. And the lady was screaming on the phone. And she said, Kimbrough, not again. She was the mother that lost her child in 21. So no, I'm not all right. I'm not. And you shouldn't be either as a community. And here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to get out of the way. We got to make some decisions here. And I'm talking to the parents and I'm talking to the young folk. Either we're going to be our brother's keepers or our brother's pallbearers. We're better than this. To watch something horrific like this and to resurface it, we're better than this. Law enforcement, we have perfected how to respond to this, but I can assure you none of us want to respond to this. What I would tell you is before I take my seat, I went back to Ms. Portia's house yesterday, and I sat with her. And I told her that the decision that was going to be made today, and if there was God in a woman, I saw it. Because she looked up at me and she said, Kimbrough, I'm all right. My church got me and God got me. That's love. That's what we need in this community. Regardless of whose fault it is, we in this together. Make no mistake about it. That's my message for the day.
I want to thank the sheriff for the remarks. And when I look back a couple of days ago and just think about the incident and how things are transpiring, I can't thank the responder enough. The Sheriff's Department here in Forsyth County, the Winston-Salem Police Department, law enforcement, fire officials, everyone who came out to help, the staff at the school who did their work. A very difficult situation, full of emotions, lots of questions, but still doing the things that need to be done. In a situation as bad as this is, and we feel the pain. I said the other day when I was speaking that this is an educator's nightmare, and that's true. We think about the things that keep me up at night are about safety. When I talk to parents, it's about safety. When I talk to teachers, it's about safety. When I talk to students, it's about safety. My dad a long time ago would say, don't tell me, show me. And I want to make sure that we're doing things in the school system that reflect that as a priority. So one of the conversations that we've already had that will continue is to take a look at protocol and procedures in any situation, good or bad, that we have an opportunity to learn from to try to figure out what needs to be done differently, what do we need to do more of, what do we need to do less of, do we have resources that we need to deploy that we haven't, do we have resources that we need that we simply don't have. And those are conversations that are ongoing and will continue to happen as we move forward. I will tell you the metal detector piece and threat deterrent systems like that are important, but they are one layer of a security system that we have to have in place. And while my tenure here has not been very long, I can tell you that there's been a great investment made across the school system for security. If you've tried to get onto campus, you've seen that. Camera systems, door locking systems, certainly the weapons deterrent systems, but there are other things that need to be done, and you've heard that already. It can't be at the school system only. There has to be outreach that happens throughout the community, and I would call on our churches and civic groups and other organizations that are working with our youth to break this cycle of violence and the weapons that we have. The weapons didn't happen at school, they came from somewhere, and we've got to work on making sure that those weapons aren't there. We want our schools to be safe. I don't want any parent or any student to have to spend time worrying about whether they're going to be safe if they're in our building. I want them to be focused on what they're doing academically. I want them to work on the pieces of the social maturation that should happen. And that's another part that I haven't mentioned. When we think about the needs of a trauma and a tragedy when they happen, we certainly have responses that we deal with, and those are the consequences that happen if it's discipline or dealing with the triage that happens. But there's an emotional side from all those who were involved that will continue long after this happens. And I will tell you that this is a trigger event for other things that have happened throughout our community that make it just as real as if it were yesterday. And we want to minister to, and we want to try to support those individuals, but we need your help doing that as well. So as we deploy our help teams, our students will be back on campus tomorrow with a great deal of help around them. We certainly want it to be a time where they feel welcome to come back and not pensive and scared. There'll be a stronger presence on our part, but that can't be something that happens one day and then disappears. So as we look at the resources that we need to ensure the goals that we have and to accomplish the things that you're hearing here today, we reach out to our community and ask for that support. My thoughts and prayers continue with all those involved. It continues with the faculty and staff and students at that school. And across this great county that I'm now a part of, I want to be a part of the solution. And I'm stand here today committed to do that. Thank you all.
My partners in crime fighting said two things that stood out. District Attorney Jim O'Neill said senseless. Sheriff Kimbrough talked about community. Six teenagers have been killed this year in our community. That equates to one every other month. So when I say that we need to be talking to our kids, that's not to imply that that wasn't the case in this one at all. Don't read into it. But we got to do more than talk. We got to show, because our kids are watching. What are we doing out when we're out in public? How are we behaving? As a community, are we civil to one another, particularly when we disagree? You think about it. Furthermore, there needs to be a conversation about the role of this in the schools. It's time to have that conversation. What are our kids listening to? If their headphones are on their ears more than they're talking to us, adults and parents, then that has more influence. I've heard what they're listening to. That's the influence. It's a lot of pain right now. So what I want to say to our community, to our families, to our parents, let's talk about that pain. Because if the thought process is to retaliate, then pick another. This doesn't need to be a conversation from law enforcement. This needs to be conversations in the home. It's not about finger pointing. It's about, as a community, taking control, taking back our families, our kids, our community. And last but not least, let's not let this be lost on this incident. All of us need to wrap our arms around North Forsyth, every single teacher, student, and staff. As I was there on Tuesday, I saw the dietary staff in tears. It's a lot of people hurting. Let's not forget a single individual. And Sheriff Kimbrough says that we're better than this. And so we need to get behind his statement and be better than this and take back control. Take back our community.
So before we start taking questions, because I know you have quite a few, just want to reiterate what Dr. Phelps said. They will be back in school tomorrow. I'll be at the bus ramp with a sign that says, "I love you." Let's show love to them that are coming back. Let's show support, because we are Forsyth strong. We are Forsyth strong. So I'll open up the floor for any questions that you all may have.
So my question is for Dr. Phipps. Dr. Phipps, Daily StateMSC, 45 News. Can you commit to the daily use of the open gate weapon detectors that you do have in the high schools right now?
Yes, I made that request as a directive yesterday, that what we do have will be used on a daily basis. And then I want to determine what else we need to do to be able to have that use at the level that we want it to be. But I can certainly tell you that what we have, we're going to deploy and use, and then we're going to seek the opportunity to be able to get more.
And a follow-up to that question, what are the procedures in place for drug policies?
I don't know how to answer that question yet. I can have that conversation with you.
What are the different types of support that you will be offering to the students tomorrow? I know you said that you personally will be there. Is there going to be a crisis team, increase of counselors? Talk a little bit more.
There will be. Our crisis team will be on site tomorrow. We've already reached out to faculty and staff. We've had opportunities for students who wanted to come in to be able to do that. But we will be there tomorrow to render that aid tomorrow and as long after that we need to do that. These are individuals that are professionals that are trained in crisis, and we have too many opportunities to practice and build the skills in that area, but we've got a great group of professionals that are there to minister to everyone in that building, and we'll do so as long as needed.
And how far do you think that will continue? Is it just this week and next week, or are you going to keep continuing that?
We'll meet the need as long as it exists.
Do you think the budget crisis contributed to this problem, not being able to have enough staff members to actually man those metal detectors?
I believe the medical detectors and the evolution that we've seen in the security system allows us to do work with fewer individuals. And the question is moving a full student body through a weapons deterrent system, and the ability to get that done effectively and efficiently is something that we want to look at. And a part of that is just the hardware of the materials that we have, but then also accentuating that with the rest of the security system detail that we have, we need to work on. And I mentioned that earlier. It's not just about a metal detector. It's about all the other pieces that are involved with that, including the mental health well-being of our faculty and staff, and the things you've heard today that extend out into the community that we need to work on.
Dr. Phipps, will the bystanders of this fight or the videographers of this fight face any school-level consequences?
Because it involves student discipline, I'm just not at liberty to be able to share that with the public.
How big was this knife, and how was it able to get through the doors? Was it an open gate used that day?
The open gate system was not used that day. I don't have any information personally about the knife. Sheriff, speak to that.
3 inches.
Is it confirmed that it was in fact his knife, the victim's?
Yes.
Do we know who brought the THC pen on campus?
Yes.
Who was that?
Again, I think here's my answer on that, and for what I'm getting from the district attorney on that one, right? While you may see as relevant, I don't see the point in sharing that information, that part right there.
I have a question for Dr. Phipps. Sorry to get you set back up the podium, please. Touching back on the social media video that's been circulating, are there going to be changes to the school district to their phone policy in light of this video being shared on social media?
Again, we want to look at every situation that happens and what opportunities are there to either tighten up policies or try to create situations where we avoid things that happen. That's something that we will look at in addition to all the other pieces. As you're aware, there's a new law that the General Assembly put in place in terms of students having cell phones in use. We know that every situation like this is going to be extraordinarily different than what a typical custom school day is, and we want to look at that and try to determine what's needed. I just can't answer that now without having that input and feedback from others.
Superintendent, would you be open to parents or guardians who are willing to possibly volunteer to help man the metal detectors and other safety procedures? Would the district be open to that idea?
I would be open to having conversation about that. I don't know what the guidelines are in terms of the use of those deterrent devices. But if that's the resource that's lacking, then I think we have to be creative and look. But I also know that there's some requirements when you're doing that type of work. So without committing to that, I would say certainly we'll be open to the conversation and put that on the table.
Given the district's financial standing currently, I mean, is there any
any wiggle room for any further financial investments into safety at school?
Well, for the open gates devices, to get what we feel like we need and would like to have, we're looking at just shy of $2 million. And that would have to be, and there's a lot of fundraising that's gone on that's not related to this at all. And I don't want there to be community fatigue for raising funds, but I think when a situation like this happens, it shines a light on a critical time and a critical need, and that would certainly be something that we would love to be able to have, is the influx of those funds to be able to purchase those types, pieces of equipment. Again, so that every parent knows that when their child gets dropped off or they get off, they drop, they're going to be scanned and checked every day.
Donation efforts are probably going to be the lead in making that change.
That's part of the conversation of being able to articulate what our need is and then what we need to do to be able to get yes.
You mentioned offering support to students and staff, but how are teachers doing right now?
Teachers are struggling. Every educator who's in this field struggles when a child hurts. And the death of a child and violence on schools it shakes us to our core. And that's not something that you just raise the shade in the morning and you got over what happened yesterday. So when I said our student services team is there to render support to our students, they're also there to render support to our staff. And we've got to work with them. We've got to minister to those needs. And there's not a set cycle that you go through. Everybody deals with this differently. And these kinds of things can trigger something that's completely unrelated that would have a person have some emotional turmoil that we want to try to get in and meet that need. But we heard earlier, you know, we've perfected certain things in the county. We want to perfect what we're doing in the education arena. And we've got to be able to focus on education and not these other things. But these other things take top priority, and we know that. I told you that that's the biggest need and the biggest concern that an educator has. Work with us and help us be able to resolve that so that we can focus on the things that we'd rather be talking about. High student achievement, great success that students have in school.
Due to this incident, are there any youth violence initiatives that you all will be implementing, or the school district planning for the future?
We've had a number of folks outside of our school system who have reached out with programs, services, and offerings, and we're looking at all of that. Not everything that happens somewhere is going to fit our need, so we want to make sure that we're looking for services that can render the support and help that we need moving forward.
What will security look like tomorrow on campus?
Security tomorrow will be more than sufficient and efficient. Of course, you know, anytime there's a critical incident, we know that emotions are high. So we'll basically be doubling down as we go back in tomorrow, throughout the rest of the year as well, and probably until school ends this year. We'll figure it out if we have to move people around, but security will be more than efficient tomorrow.
Knowing how big the night was now, are you able to say whether if they were working
Yes.
on Tuesday?
Yes.
Would that have
Yes.
picked up the night?
Yes.
Dr. Phipps, how many people over the past fall have been lost in terms of staff in North Forsyth, and have those people, does their role involve behavior? Has the loss of those people affected?
I don't have the number in front of me. It's a significant number. And I can tell you, regardless of what the person's title is, everybody that we have who's an employee or a staff member contributes to the well-being of our students. And if we lose just one, it's changed the dynamic of what we work on. But you know, we have to work with where we are and try to provide as much support as we can, again, with the resources we have, and we're committed to doing that.
A follow-up question with that, Dr. Phipps. There has been some concern from community members that if an assistant principal was there, that this fight, this altercation could have been resolved, prevented. Was there an assistant principal originally at North Forsyth High School, and were they moved this year because of the budget?
I don't know that information. Again, I can find that out for you. And I'm sorry, without that background, I just don't know those specific details.
You mentioned taking another look at policies and procedures and protocols at the school, but how soon could it be that we could see an increased security measure done at the school?
Well, you're going to see it as effective as early as today, as we've had our meetings, and then we have to determine what those other layers are, what those protocols may be, how significant the changes are, what resources are needed. But we're not waiting. We don't have time to wait. So we've started using what we can, hopefully more effectively today.
Did this altercation happen in a passing period, or was it during class time?
I'm not sure of the schedule.
So If you remember, school was on a 2-hour delay on Tuesday. School typically starts at 8:45 at North Forsyth. The call came in at 11:04. That's what time the deputy called it in, needing assistance. So based on the time, school would have already started about 15 minutes.
Can you confirm that moving forward, the metal detectors will be in use on a daily basis at all schools in the district, or?
There will be a school system question. The sheriff's office, for clarity, the sheriff's office doesn't dictate the metal detectors in the school. That is a school district policy, procedure, and decision.
I've said it twice, I'll say it a third time, they will be used every day in our schools,
Okay, and that's moving forward.
starting today.
Dr. Davis, you are newer to this community, but we know that you have experience in other communities. Have you ever experienced an incident like this and the aftermath, and how did you handle that?
My career began as a school psychologist. So I was in Cumberland County, a district very similar to this size, and served as the executive director of student services. So I led the trauma outreach. And it's unfortunate that, and we don't keep a scoreboard, but every death, every loss of a student or a staff or a traumatic event is significant. They're all a little bit different. They're unique in some ways, but at the heart of it is trying to render need to those that need the help, and that's what we're doing here. And we learn something from every situation. We'll debrief the incident, we'll debrief our response to the incident, and we'll try to be better as we move forward.
Will this 18-year-old face any in-school consequences? Is he expected to return to North Forsyth?
Again, I can't speak about specific student information like that.
Superintendent, given your background as in psychology as well, and having students return to school tomorrow, how do you make sure that your students, teachers, and staff are in the right mind state and frame to learn and also deliver information to kids given the recent event that just happened? Do you feel like students, teachers are returning to school maybe too soon?
Well, I don't know that there is a right time because everybody processes and goes through this at different rates. I think my response to that would be the same thing that we take in terms of educating our children. And I think we have to know each student as a unique individual that they are. We have to know where they are. Teachers spent time yesterday reaching out to students to get an assessment of where they were. We've also done the same thing. We want to make sure that our staff are okay. And there may be some that aren't in a right mind space to be there tomorrow, and we want to work with them as we go through. That's far more important than the formal academic work that needs to be done. We have to take care of the mental well-being and the safety of these individuals before we can focus on that.
What was some of the feedback that you got from, again, your crisis trauma response team who were talking to students, teachers, and staff?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, every situation is different, but the hurt is real, the fear is real. It's just something that we just don't want to have to deal with, but we have to plan for. And the trauma is a heavy issue to deal with, and it has many tentacles and facets. And we just can't go in with one solution. We have to be very broad in terms of what we do, and we're working on that.
Everyone, we're going to finish the questions now.
So I'll allow one more question, then we're going to close it up since you started. Finish your question.
I did have one more question for Dr. Phipps. We talked about reviewing emergency protocols and policies. How quickly were parents notified of the situation? How were they contacted? And quite frankly, we did hear from parents who were concerned by what seemed like a lack of communication between the district to them about the situation and meeting up with their students at the Joel Coliseum.
And Amanda, our Chief Information Officer, will follow up on that. We were immediately giving information, but we can't give what everybody wants. And folks want to know specific details that we're just not able to provide in the middle of a crisis situation, but we'll follow up on that.
Again, I want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all. I love this community. We will continue to be better every day, and we will get through this together because we are Forsyth strong.